So I'm having a chat with Chris Shiflett of Foo Fighters. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad, thanks so much. So you've had a rather busy year, but let's start off because you're in the middle of releasing some solo stuff. The recent single of yours we've been playing is Overboard. Tell us a little bit about the
Oh.
single, first of all.
Yeah, so that's the latest. We put out about four songs from this new record that's coming out on the 20th of October. Overboard's the most recent song. It's a song I wrote for my wife. Kind of, there's a little bit of inside baseball stuff in there for us. But I think anybody that's raising kids could probably relate to it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And that is coming off your new solo record, which is coming out, as you mentioned, on the 20th of October. Lost at Sea. What can people expect to
Yes.
hear when they get a chance to take a listen?
They should expect to hear the greatest record they've ever heard in their whole life. So you got to go out and get it right now. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm never good at like that wind up, but that was pretty good. But no, it's a record I'm really proud of. Happy with how it turned out. Um, it's it's like equal parts kind of rock and roll and country and whatever. It's like I just think of it as like guitar music. It's just
Mm.
guitar music. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this being your, I'd say, fifth solo record, you've done a couple with Dead Peasants as some solo work as well. How has
Yeah.
your solo work evolved since you started releasing your own stuff through to now?
Yeah, I mean, I think my songwriting's evolved quite a bit during that period. Sort of my approach to it has changed. Hopefully, I've gotten a little better at it. I don't know. Certainly getting more comfortable as the years go by. Just making these records, and they're all a little bit different. They're all little sort of snapshots of whatever you were sort of going through at that time. So, you try to take your lessons from one and apply it to the next one, and then you get done with the next one. And you're like, oh man, I learned all this other stuff on this one. I'm going to apply it to the next one. So they just kind of continue to uh, to change, as the years go by.
Mm, yeah, definitely. And you're kind of in the middle of touring at the moment. You've got a solo show tomorrow as well
Yeah,
in Texas. Looking forward to your solo work tomorrow.
yeah, it should be fun. I mean, Austin is always great, and I did one of these a few years back. I want to say it was like 2019, where ACL, Austin City Limits Music Festival, does these, like, I think they're called like ACL late nights or something. So they're kind of tied into the festival, and but they're their own thing. And I'm playing Antone's, which is a great room, and there's a cat named Ellis Bullard that's opening the show, who's really great guitar player, and so that'll be fun. And yeah, it should be fun to be. I haven't been down to Austin for a minute. And got a lot of friends down there, and it's going to be a fun week. I mean, the whole week's going to be great because we've got like those ACL shows on either end. I got that
Mm.
solo thing I'm doing tomorrow night. Um, I'm throwing together a show with some friends. It's just another thing. We're just going to do some country covers next weekend at the Continental on the 13th. And I think I'm going to go surf the Waco wave pool on Sunday. So I got that going for me too. So it's going to
Nice.
be it's going to be a
Yeah, you
busy
like
week
to keep
in
busy.
Texas.
You like to
Well,
keep busy.
it's yeah. I feel like I'm lucky that I have the opportunity to do all this great stuff. So you don't want to look back at your life and be like, oh man, I could have gone and surfed the wave pool in Waco, but I was tired and
Mm.
I just slept all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you've had a busier year as well, touring back and forth all over the place with both Foos and your solo work as well. You also did Glastonbury. How's touring been this year and Glastonbury as well? How was that?
It's been good. I just don't want to get too much into that because then everything I say as it relates to the foods gets sort of like taken out of context, not by you necessarily, but just turned into clickbait. And I try to work hard to avoid it. I've gotten so
Mm.
much more sensitive to that over the years, which is a shame because, I'm proud of what we do, but it's just like you just can't say anything without 8 million outlets on the internet trying to twist your words into some other thing. So I just kind of try to avoid it. But yeah, it just is what it is. But yeah, it's been a busy year.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking towards next year as well, you've got a busy year ahead. What's your plans for next year?
Just more of the same, and trying to figure out getting back over to the UK for some solo shows in hopefully sometime in the spring. We're working on that now, and we'll hopefully have some news on that front sooner than later. But definitely want to get back over because the tour that we did over there in this past spring was just next level incredible. It was so good. The shows were so good. All the folks that came out were just amazing. So um, it's it's kind of the best place in the world for us to tour.
Mm,
For my solo thing, it's really incredible to be that far from home and be have those crowds be that just kind of crazy and I don't know. It's just always a joy.
yeah, yeah, I bet. Now you've been playing for many, many years now, and you've been in a number of bands as well as the Foo Fighters, Me First, and the Gimme Gimmes, just to name a couple. How do you go about your day in your head? Do you have to cater your day to what you're doing, or does your day kind of work out the same regardless of what shows you're doing or who you're writing for at the time?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's I've had to get much more sort of disciplined with time management as the years go by because in addition to like the music stuff, I've got this podcast now that I've
Mm,
been working on called Shred with Shifty. And that has been an enormous amount of work. It's really fun putting it together, but it's also pretty time consuming. So it sort of depends on where I'm at. If I'm out on the road, it's actually kind of easier because when you think about it, like if we're out doing shows, that means most of your day is kind of freed up. You
mhm.
don't have to go down to the show till the evening or whatever. So you have like a chunk of time to kind of work on whatever it is you're working on. And if I'm home, then that's a different thing. I like to kind of work on whatever I'm doing during school hours when my kids are, you know, tied up doing school. But I don't like to. But I just want to be home and have dinner with my family in the evenings and be around. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's sort of like you have to kind of figure out when to pump the brakes,
Mm,
and that can be kind of challenging sometimes because opportunities come up with things you want to do and it would be fun to do, but there's just only so many hours in the day, and it's like, what's the priority? My priority is my family,
yeah.
and then work. Of course, is a huge priority, and then there's like the artistic side of it. You want to be sort of writing and being creative and all that. So you just have to be kind of a little more disciplined than a guy
Mm.
like me wants to be, to be perfectly honest. It's not why I signed up for this whole musician life. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was never my strong point growing up. I'll put it that way.
Just get told where you need to be and you'll be there.
There you go. That's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you've got your free when you're on tour, you've got your free time, but do you have to stay in that mindset of, let's say you're on tour with Foos, you have to stay in Foos mindset, or can you drift into your solo work and other works as well?
I think it's really healthy as a player to just do all kinds of different things. I think they all sort of make each other better. You
Mhm.
know, the more I'm doing, I've been doing a bunch of solo gigs, especially recently. I did a couple out in Chicago, and then just did this record release thing the other night, and all that kind of stuff requires some rehearsals and things like that. So, and that's kind of in the middle of all this touring we're doing, and I just feel like I don't know, my guitar muscles feel strong when the more you're sort of thinking about like a lot of different song arrangements, it's like kind of like that part of your brain gets worked out, and it's just better all around.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least that's what I like to tell myself. Maybe it's making me worse. I don't know. It feels like it's making me better. I
Well,
don't,
you semi-answered my next question with all these years behind you playing music. I mean, you started releasing music in the '90s. Do you feel like you've got better?
in some ways yes, and in some ways, just my guitar playing. It's like there's things that I could do when I was 18 that I couldn't get anywhere near now. I've really like changed as a player a lot. My whole approach was so different back then. Um, but it is funny. Like a friend of mine reminded me that I played a guitar solo on a Swing and Utters track back in the '90s, that I hadn't heard probably since I recorded it. And I listened to it the other day, and I was like, oh my God, that's like all the same shit that I still do all the time. So you sort of think you've evolved maybe more than you really have. I don't know. It seems like I have. Certainly like, you know, in the last 25 years or so, my musical tastes have changed quite a bit, and that has a huge impact. I feel like, I play a lot more with my fingers
Mhm.
nowadays than I did when I was a kid. I think I got a softer touch now. I play lighter strings and lighter picks, and don't smash the shit out of my guitar. I used to, my arms, my hand, all right here would just be like just scabbed and
Mm.
cut all the time, and I was like, and when I was in No Use for a Name, that was like, it was funny touring back then. That was like a thing that I was always having to sort of do maintenance. I was always having to super glue my fingers
Yeah,
together and
yeah.
do shit like that because it was just always being torn apart. I just don't play like that anymore. You know what I mean? I just have a different approach to the instrument nowadays. So
Mm.
yeah, so it's tough to say. I think there's some through lines there. It's still me, but man, it would be hard to get those chops back.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. And you've done many things over the years, both as yourself and with and Foos and Me First. Is there things that you've yet to do that you really want to do at some point in your musical career?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always striving to make a better record, write a better song, play a better guitar solo, come up with a better lyric,
Mm.
um, all that kind of stuff for sure. I don't think you could ever really be satisfied, or feel like you've 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 hit your high point yet. Even if who knows, maybe you have, but you can't feel like you have. You got to keep striving for something for something more. Um, on the commercial side of it, like in terms of like places that you played, venues. Um, I mean, I've been fortunate to get to play some pretty crazy gigs
Mm.
over the years, so um, it's hard to imagine topping some of the things that we've been lucky enough to do. But you know, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's hard to think about, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you start to feel greedy, like I mean, like what's better than playing Wembley? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And musical wise, you've touched on a few genres: country with your solo stuff, punk, rock. Is there any genres of music that you haven't tried yet that you want to see if works for you as an artist?
Oh, I mean, there's so many different guitar styles that I just love that I would probably never go out and do where anybody could see me. But wouldn't it be fun to go join like, go tour with like an R&B band or like
Mm.
something that's just very stylistically different and would require I know for me the only way that I really learn anything is to immerse myself in it. So, be great to go be like the second guitar player in a really good bluegrass band or something and just sit and watch and learn and
Yeah.
get it in your hands, or like I said, like an R&B band, or you know I have no jazz chops. Like, would that be fun? But yeah, if I ever do any of those things, I'm going to do it like, with my hat pulled low. No one's going to know.
Grow the beard a little bit. Yeah,
Exactly.
you won't
Exactly.
be known. And
Yeah.
final question: when a youngster picks up a guitar, you're probably one of the names that they list off that they want to try and emulate. If you could give them some advice, as they're just picking up that guitar, what would you say to them?
Ooh. Um, I read a quote one time that was something like, I don't even remember who said this or what exactly they said, but it was something about writing poetry. Like, that if you just write one line of poetry a day, by the end of your life you'll have like more poetry than anybody's ever going to read, or say something along those lines. And I think the point was maybe to just put pen to paper and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same can be applied to guitar playing. If you spend 15 minutes or half an hour a day strumming your guitar, you're gonna you're gonna like improve so much in a relatively short amount of time. There's nothing better than just getting it in your hands. But then the next step is play with music with your friends. Go make a racket. It's going to be fucking terrible, but it's going to be fun. And just, you have to play with other human beings to really, figure it out. And always listen to the drummer. That's another one.
Great
Listen
stuff.
to the rhythm section, lock in. Where's the kick drum? Where's the snare? Play along with that. It took me about 30 years to figure that one out. So that's a good shortcut.
And you've just made it. You've only just learned
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Chris, it's been awesome having a chat with you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely.